A medium or a large? Actually, what?
Extra large and a fatty.
No, you're a big boy. We like that. I shoot because they move me on quickly. You guys ask away.
Well, I have some sandwich to the
Having fun? I'm having a ball. Often.
Like your third or fourth.
This is my third con, and I just want to say to all the fans out there who have supported the show, they've made us the success that we are, and thank you to Stars for giving us the new life. The fans have made our con incredible. It's just really spectacular. That panel today was overwhelming, knowing that was apparently the biggest line that they've ever had for a panel. For that, in cons.
Ridiculous.
It was, and we could have filled another room apparently. So, thank you. Anyway, there we go.
You guys need to be in Hall H.
Sorry?
Need to be in Hall H.
Yes, next time.
My friend wants me to ask you, as another big fan of the show, she wants to know if the way Jack is a bit more subdued, is that because of what happened in Children of Earth and all the...
We're only on episode 3 over here, right?
Yeah.
He's subdued for a reason, but all hell's going to break loose. And the only reason he's a little subdued is because he's mortal, and he can die, and that frightens him. Because you have a character who prior to this has been immortal and was very uncomfortable with that immortality, and really didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, and he didn't really like it because he's watched many people die over generations, and he's been around a long time. And all of a sudden he's now mortal and he could lose all that. And there's a dynamic there. You actually find out later on what he really feels about it and which one he wants to be.
All right.
No spoilers.
This came from a fan, so don't slap me.
No, it's okay.
Hi.
He'll slap me anyway.
What will become the famous sex scene of this episode, and will your parents be watching?
My parents will watch. My parents, in fact, it's tonight they'll be watching, and it's there's a good sex scene on tonight. That was the one where I went off to have sex with a 24-year-old. That was the one I said about with my partner Scott. I don't know. I think the episode that's going to stick with everybody is going to be episode 5, because we have, without giving too much away, Russell, said that was the gift for Eve and I. And we learn a lot about Jack and Gwen's relationship, how they really feel about each other, and it's not what you think. But you also delve into Jack's past, and you get this story of a beautiful love romance between two men that's now portrayed on television, and I'm really proud of that. Russell's really proud of writing it, because we're, let's say we're making a statement, we're telling a story, but, as a young man, I would love to have seen that growing up, to know that I can have that kind of romance, like what I'm told we are not supposed to have, like everybody else. And we show it in a very normal, very wonderful, beautiful way. And like everybody else, yes, we do have sex. So it's a hot sex scene. And it doesn't mean it's like, humpy bumpy. It's very passionate.
On that note, we always hear about Jack being omnisexual.
Yes.
Will we ever see him have a relationship with like a sexy alien, or?
I don't know. That they, I think Tosh had a romp with an alien.
We want to see Jack.
I know. Well, I don't know. We may not. But yeah, his omnisexuality. That's something I'd be up for that. But I wish I could. I think I'd tell Russell I'd like to design the alien.
I've not been a fan of the show long. I literally started about a month and a half ago. And
Welcome.
I've watched the entire 3 series up until, and I caught on. Does Jack have one great true love? Is there that one soulmate, or is it the soulmate of the season?
That's kind of like a James Bond.
Jack,
I've noticed that.
I want to, I could, with this romance that happens, you kind of find out a lot about who he is in this romance. So it possibly could be this one, but then again, I could say that, and then if we come back for another season, which we hope, they could write something else for me, and it's totally different. Do you know what I mean? So there are a lot of things. I don't think there's actually the one. He's had a lot of relationships, both with men and women. In fact, one of the parties, the lady who he went to visit who was killed by the fairies, he was very passionate about her. That's part of the problem with Jack. He has to keep the secret from everybody because they always die, and he doesn't. So, I'd say at the moment, right here now, the relationship that's about to come up, I think is a really important one because I can't tell you. I can't tell you. No,
Yes,
I can't.
you can.
I can't
walking in there.
because he
Tiptoe.
you see how he falls for somebody. That's all I can say. And the decisions that he has to make. That's all I can say.
So,
The bartender or a different?
No, the bartender's just a fuck. The bartender's just he's mortal. He wants to feel, because he's never experienced being drunk. He's never experienced a good sleep. Because he'd never slept. He just always was awake, always there, always being. And he just wanted to. I'm sorry, that's really terrible. I was going to say. So he just wants to get his hole. Sorry.
So
I don't hope
this is
that.
a pretty deep question, but Jack had to sacrifice his own flesh and blood.
Correct.
Would John sacrifice his own flesh and blood to save the planet?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't. I'd like to think that I would, because I'd like to think that part of what makes Jack so popular with the audience, I think, is because I put a lot of my personality into it, a lot of myself. And there's a lot of Jack and John. I like to look at myself as in an individual, not so much as saving people's lives, but with other things that I do in the UK and what I do for charities and what I do for people. I have another TV show where I make people's dreams come true. I like to look at myself as maybe, and this is going to sound arrogant, but I do not mean it in this way. I like to look at myself as being a bit of a hero, and I think we should all look at ourselves as being heroes to other people. So maybe I would. Again, I don't know. It's a hypothetical, but that was the whole point of that episode, was to look people to say, would I do that? And that was why Jack made that decision. But what's really interesting about this series, too, is the fact that Jack has sacrificed a child for reasons to save the planet and humanity, not a selfish reason. And then you have Oswald Danes, who's murdered a young girl for selfish, evil reasons and beyond anyone's, what you can comprehend. But they both murdered children.
That's a good scene between you two.
They
Really
both
good
murdered,
scene.
and that's why Jack knows, he understands. That's why he's so intrigued by Oswald Danes, because he gets it. Different. Well, there's a connection.
You know the famous scene between Lecter and in the original, what was the name of it? Do you remember the name of the original Hannibal Lecter movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Red Dragon.
Yeah.
No, Manhunter.
Manhunter. And there's that black, the white bars and going back and forward, and there's just, it seems like there's that going on with these two guys.
It is, and it builds.
How was it working with Bill Pullman?
Oh, it's amazing.
Bringing in all these new.
The question, the new people who've come into it are absolutely brilliant. And again, Eve and I always want to create this kind of family atmosphere. And and I was really pleased when Mackay said to me the other day, having a drink, he said, you just step on board this ride and you go with it, because I've been on shows where people have been badly behaved and they do things, but our team, thank goodness, is wonderful. We're a big team, big family. We're all individuals, but yet when we decide to, like last night, go into the event to see the preview, and we all make a decision, if one person wants to stay, we all stay. So we all do that. It's that kind of thing, and we really loved sitting watching that with everybody last night. So it's great. Bill is amazing. Bill, for goodness sake, it's the President of the United States that I was working with. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan.
Are we done?
Last question.
Last question.
Guys,
I would
anything?
nobody else.
No?
I'll only end
Well,
up
we've
asking
seen the more. One of the things that intrigues me about Jack is he's happy-go-lucky, but he can be completely ruthless. When
Of course.
When he needs to be, like with his own grandchild.
Yeah.
But will we see more of that, or is it because he's
You will. You will. Again, you will see all the questions that have been asked in episode 1 and throughout the rest of the series will be answered in episode 10. We're not going to leave you hanging for series to find out. But Jack always is ruthless. And he has to be ruthless. And he will be ruthless. But the one thing that's interesting about him, that I love about him this series, is his vulnerability. Because where he would have just shot Oswald in the head the other day, but he knows he can't die. So, but you see him just taken in, and the fear, actually a little bit of fear in his face. Because when those men grab him, he doesn't know what's going to happen to him. So yeah, I think I like the vulnerability, but he will be ruthless. Don't worry.
You want to play Captain Jack for a long time?
I would love to. I would be happy playing Captain Jack for the next another 8 years. I really would. But what I'd really love to see is that this series does well. We get a few more series, 2 or 3 or 4, and then we make a Torchwood movie.
Do you own any of the coats from Jack?
I have my own. I do.
Do you wear them out?
I don't wear them out, but Scott likes me to put one on every now and then.